After a historic and exciting election night, we're leaning into more political analysis now. Mark Carney and the Liberal Party won a minority government in the 45th federal election. Here to break down the results is CTV News chief political correspondent Vassy Kapelos. Great to have you, Vassy. I know for political junkies like us, it was an all-nighter. How you doing?
Still kicking. The bar is low, but I'm awake.
Definitely.
Nice to see you, Stefan.
Thank you so much. Tell us your analysis or takeaway from this, or how you're reading the results, because it really feels as though with Mark Carney at the helm, he has clear marching orders. It's like Canadians are saying, Mr. Economics, show us what you can do, but the country's still letting the Liberal Party know that we don't have full confidence in you with this narrow minority. What do you say?
Yeah, it's an interesting way to frame it. I certainly think that the ballot box question that did ultimately win out for, at least as the efficiency of the vote is concerned, Canadians, was around the question of Trump. I think you're very right to point out that that is what Canadians expect of Prime Minister Carney, and that will be his biggest challenge moving forward, right? Like, he'll have to meet with Donald Trump, he'll have to start the negotiations he talked about in that call with Donald Trump last month, and we all know how unpredictable Donald Trump is. So the challenge ahead is a very large one. I think, though, what does stick out otherwise from last night's election is two things. First of all, Pierre Poilievre not winning his seat.
Of course.
What does that do to the defiant nature with which he delivered his remarks last night, his ability to stay on as leader, which he very much, as you could hear from that speech, intends to do. Very curious to see how that one plays out and how the Conservatives react today to that kind of stunning upset, I think is the way to call it, even though there was some reporting that it was possible.
Right.
I couldn't find any Conservative who thought ultimately at the end of the day he would end up losing. And so it's a big deal after 20 years. I know all of our viewers in Ottawa will understand in that riding he's been there for what feels like forever. And then finally, really quickly, Stefan, the collapse of the NDP is the true story of the night, because it is what led to the result, the coalescing of support around the Conservatives and in particular the Liberals. Such a high level of popular support for each of those parties, and that is entirely due to the collapse of the NDP, not an official party. The leader loses his seat, resigns the night of the election. Just a wild story on that end as well.
Definitely virtual tie, but a win is a win. And like you said, I'm so interested to see how this plays out for Pierre Poilievre in particular. Have any theories been floating around where you are?
Well, I've definitely been talking to people to try and figure out, like, what is the process? Is there a process that will take place, for example, in caucus or a broader leadership review? Trying to, getting a bunch of different answers, so trying to ascertain what the truth of it is. I think beyond, though, the logistics is like the story, insofar as other leaders of the party have won the popular vote, not in, being able to amass the level of support that Poilievre did. To be fair to him, he upped the seats by a substantial amount. He upped the popular vote by a substantial amount. But other leaders like Erin O'Toole and Andrew Scheer have also won the popular vote, lost the election, and kind of been eaten alive publicly by other members of their party. So I think the key thing to watch is within the party, are they as loyal to Poilievre as they seem to be, because they seem to be very supportive of him and very loyal to him? Do they believe if he gets another kick at the can, he ultimately could be successful? Or will the knives start to come out? And will there be a challenge essentially mounted from within? Those are the things that will tell us, I think, exactly where this goes.
Any early predictions on a successor for Jagmeet Singh for the NDP party?
Not really. I think it will depend sort of what unfolds when picking an interim leader. He's gonna stay on until there's an interim leader. I think the interim leader will likely come from caucus, just for logistical reasons again, but I could be wrong, but that's my impression this morning. And then when you start looking at a more long-term replacement, oh my goodness, there will be lots of names. Tom Mulcair last night on our program floating the name of outgoing Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante. You've got big stars like Rachel Notley, and in Manitoba, Premier Wab Kinew. Like, there's a wish list for the NDP. I think the primary sort of set of circumstances informing that wish list will be, let's come back from destruction. Right. And how can we become a more viable option for Canadians when they did not find us viable in this election? I think that will be the thing they are seized with when they pick a new leader. Definitely.
Vassy, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have some time later today, get some rest. I know I won't, but all the best to you.
Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you.